go. Welcome in, everybody. Well, JCS Interactive. I appreciate every single one of you, all of you watching right now that are here. Thank you. Thanks for that. Good to be here. Glad that you're here as well. We cheers this thing, Tom. Felt like a little Guinness action tonight.
Look at you.
Little Guinness action tonight.
I am underprepared for that moment.
That's all right. If you want to run and grab something, you can. I'll be sipping. I'll entertain the people.
Nah, it's all right. It's all right. We're going with the water tonight. We'll have
Okay.
a couple of beverages post game on Saturday.
I started to go with the big thing of water tonight, but then I thought beer would be better. That's kind of how my brain works. It's like, hey, man, we could always drink a Guinness. Well, we will drink a Guinness.
Let's start with do you know anything about this rumor, Southernmost Seminoles? Does that mean you're in the Keys, I guess? Which game are we busting out the throwback uniforms?
I don't know anything about that.
I don't know anything about throwback uniforms either.
And by that Southernmost Seminole, I hope you mean that it's like the state one, the state on the hat. I had that sweatshirt on earlier today, and now I took it off. I don't know what to do with it, but yeah, that like.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Well, you know what? We'll credit you Southernmost because he thinks it's going to be the state of Florida outline.
Oh yeah. So, that's been in the coffers. That's been like out there, and I know they've had that helmet in the background before. And
they're pushing the obviously the last few years. I wear the mustard one, and you wear the sweatshirt with that logo. But they did add some like straight up old school red and white state of Florida gear. I've got that polo this year. They did the inverted track jacket with like, it's not like the purple garnet. It's like straight, almost cardinal red, old school red. So you think that could be a thing? That'd be pretty cool.
It would be cool. I love anything with just the old state on it. And I always felt like if Florida State ended up having to go away from Seminoles, that they would end up with just the state. As Florida State, and you could put that state out. You could probably, anyhow, I always thought that's what they'd fall back to if they had to.
Yeah, fair enough.
And yeah, that'd be all right. Wouldn't suck.
What's up?
Good evening, Jeff and Tom. Love this hour. Thanks, Troy Noel, man. You are as solid as a rock, and we really appreciate the way you advocate for the show and your consistency in watching and listening to the show. I do appreciate that, buddy. I hope you're doing well in the high country.
We will see him for the home finale, too, against North Alabama. So that'll be good as well.
Thank you, Spartan Noel. You are correct. There is water and beer. So, Jeff, you're covered. Yeah.
No way. I gotta verify this real quick.
Yeah, he did. I already verified it.
That's true? Bob
yeah, I'm not shocked. I thought he should have died 10 years ago.
Well,
not a great guy. No boo-hooing about Bob Knight's death around here.
Oh, but you got to throw the ball as high as you can in the air. That's his legacy right there.
It is. We had some memorable moments. I think I'll give him, listen, that guy was a quote a second. He had any number of memorable moments on and off the court. He had one of the funniest things he ever did was when you and I were working together still at the beginning. Not just throw it up as high as you can, and meanwhile you're like, okay, Bob. No, but he remember how mad he got at that kid standing up in front of him?
Sit down, boys.
That was freaking hilarious. I give him credit for that. He was furious. Yep. Hey, like he doesn't even realize Fran Fraschilla is trying to break down this kid from France, and he's like, Hey, sit down, boys. Fran's like, Jesus Christ, Bob, we're doing a broadcast.
All right. So you remember what the Bob Knight challenge was, which is, I think there were 8 seconds left. You got to throw the ball.
I threw a football. That video is on the internet of me throwing the football at the old ESPN radio. You found it.
He's got it.
Oh. That's pretty good. 3 1/3 seconds.
Can you hear that?
Yeah, I can hear it. Throw it again. Do it again because I about threw my arm out trying to do that.
Okay,
thing.
So you can hear that though, because I can't. Okay.
Oh yeah, you can hear it loud and clear. Turn it up a little bit if you want. Yeah, you can hear it. That's pretty good. 3 1/3 seconds. I missed that shirt.
Yeah, that was a good shirt. All right,
I love that.
one more time for the people. For the people.
Ah,
Look at that shirt, man.
that was pretty good. 3 1/3 seconds. Yeah, we had fun, man. We had fun over there. That was crazy.
Oop.
And that was a football that I threw there.
That was a football.
And yeah, Alicia was like, "All right, let's film it. Let's see how long you can throw that thing up there." And I don't know. I think it was like a good 4, maybe 5 seconds, 4 seconds, maybe.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
That parking lot. Oh my God,
I
that
know.
was.
It was nuts. Yeah. And you and I walking down to the bar around the corner.
Yep.
After shows sometimes, which is no longer fermentations, which is no longer nearly as cool as it once was.
Yeah, 9 years ago. That video, 9 years old.
Time flies, man.
Yeah. So Bob Knight lasted 9 years after the challenge that he issued into the world. And then we actually got it in 2014 at the end of the game against Oklahoma State, where Jameis did participate in the Bob Knight challenge because it was a 4th down play. There was 5, 6 seconds to go, and he just chucked the hell out of that ball.
Yeah, he did. Matt, thanks for the contribution. Appreciate you. Would you guys like to see LT get more touches? Seems like he's quietly having a pretty good year. Also, such a selfless guy and great for the locker room. He is that. He's all of those things. But no, I like the other running backs more.
I think he's got the right amount.
I think it's the right amount. He's a nice change of pace guy. Really good at catching the football, obviously, and he is a good locker room guy.
Yep, agreed across the board. Whose birthday is it? Somebody said it's their birthday.
Is that
Mel King, 22nd birthday? Happy birthday!
Happy birthday! God, I remember my 22nd birthday many moons ago. 30 years ago, Jamel. That's awesome.
You broke out the mood candles. Is it because of the cool breeze?
Yeah, the weather's been so good. That was the other reason I went with the decision to have a Guinness. It was just so beautiful out. I have the whole house opened up. Every window in the house is opened up.
So you got the cross breeze.
I got the cross breeze going, man. I am rolling Big River. This is good times. Yeah, I love the cold. I want it to be 7 degrees in this house until my family gets so pissed that they're like, I'm tired of this. We're not going to freeze in our own home.
Got another birthday. Devontae says, Happy
birthday,
birthday,
man. Happy
my
birthday.
Damn self.
Everybody's got birthdays. Luckily, mine's not coming up. Tom's just was.
It just was.
Just was.
And what a birthday it was. Thomas Smith says, we're going to be number 5 after Washington wins. Pitt is not a barometer mover. Do you think that's possible that we could get jumped by Washington in the interim weeks between now and December?
Who do they have this week?
USC's ass. They're
sorry, USC. And I do think you need to keep going out there and winning.
Yeah.
You need to keep going out there and getting wins. Is it possible? I don't know. It doesn't. It worries me a little bit. I mean, you're sitting precariously, but if you dominate, I don't know what you pick. By the way, we had to submit our picks in. Did you submit your pick?
Yeah. Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Does Aslan know that?
He does now. Yeah. He does.
Okay.
He does. It was about 20 minutes ago.
Okay, I was going to say because we were recording, and he said that Ira and you had not recorded yet because we did the report together. So
I was supposed to, and I completely forgot about it. I was on, and I should be on tonight, guys. If you want to watch it, I was on with Andy Staples tonight for the National On 3 thing, and when I came home, he was interviewing me, and then we talked about this team, we talked about the rankings, we talked about the game. But anyhow, I think that runs tonight. And then from there, I had to do another interview. And I don't mean this as self-serving. It's just that it was a very busy time, and I forgot to give Aslan the pick. But I just did it about 25 minutes ago, so he's good.
Nice. So I'm going to play this game again, where if you can, in a moment, shut those eyes and tell me what your score is, and I will post mine. Because usually we're very close.
Oh, you want me to close my eyes?
Hang on. Not yet. You can close your eyes for blue. Close my. All right. I got the score ready. So whenever you're ready, we will reveal to the people our predictions for the game.
Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
Before we do that, I want to read Z-Chan's
message.
Because of you, Jeff, and your video with the Battle's End CEO, Ingram Smith, I became a donor just this week. You get the credit, amigo. What would it take besides an Ohio State loss for Georgia to jump back to the top spot? Love you guys. Well, Georgia's got good games coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And if they win them, I think they go to the top. And, I'm going to tell you, and by the way, thank you, Z-Chan. I'm going to tell you that this all gets a little murky, as we talked about last night. And I think that one of the things that makes it murky is that we're told, or at least we've been told in the past by previous committees, and the makeup of those committees change every year, guys. So they've enforced this idea that pretty consistently in the past that every season is unto itself.
Yeah.
But, that's kind of BS, because here's the deal. And I don't even mean BS on the committee's part. I mean, I think it's a BS way to do it. I do think, just like I thought we got screwed in 2014, I do think if you're the reigning national champion, and in Georgia's case, they're back-to-back national champions, and you're currently undefeated in the new season, I mean, I think you get a little something. You get a little push for that, man. It's not like we don't know that you have stockpiled oodles of talent. And I would give them a little bit of a bump for being the reigning national champion. I would.
Yeah.
Even though you're not supposed to.
We certainly didn't get it in
we didn't get it at all.
No.
We didn't get it at all. Now, we didn't play well in 2014. And Georgia hasn't had a bunch of close games. I mean, let's not get it twisted. They've kind of cruised to victory. They've had some games where they looked lethargic, but they haven't had any game like we had with, say, Louisville or some of the other teams where we were in real danger of losing.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
No, Georgia, I don't think is the bigger issue. I think it's Michigan. If you're not going to allow Brand to speak or any other season in the past to speak for your accomplishments, Michigan cannot be number 3. Doesn't matter that they've blown everybody out. They need to be number 5. Have to be at best.
I concur, and I said before that ranking that I would have put Florida State 3. I would have had, based on resume, I would have had Ohio State number 1 and Georgia number 2, or us number 2 or 3, something along those lines based on resume. And Michigan would have been out of the top 4. Washington would have been ahead of them. And for me, just based on the wins that you have. Now, again, do I think Michigan's better than Ohio State. I think we're better than Ohio State. So if I was really ranking based on what I think the most dangerous teams are, I might have Georgia 1, Michigan 2, Florida State 3, Ohio State 4.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, in fact, if I'm being really honest, I'd have one loss Oregon at 4.
Yeah.
I think Oregon's better than Ohio State. I think Oregon's better than Washington.
Yeah, agree. We said this earlier today. I don't know that we followed through on the thought, but if you're just ranking the best 4 teams as you see them, not who deserves, not a poll,
power ranking stuff,
in no particular order, it would be Georgia, us, Ohio State, or Michigan, one of the two, and then Oregon. Oregon would have to be in the top 4. Maybe Ohio State and Michigan can fend for that last spot in there, but I don't. Yeah, I wouldn't have. The way it's laid out right now is not correct if you're just going by who do you think is the best team. Oregon screwed around and lost the game they shouldn't have lost. And it might cost them in the end, like big time.
It can cost them dearly. And that's one of the great things that's happened for Florida State this year, that they didn't lose. Now, they almost did to Boston College, but they didn't. And there were really weird circumstances in that game. I think we could make a pretty sound argument that Oregon could beat anybody on any given day. I think they could beat Michigan. I think they could beat Ohio State. I think they could beat us. I think they could beat Georgia. I believe we could beat anybody on any given day. I'm not real sure Ohio State could. I'm not. It's just interesting. But I also understand that they have the 2 most significant wins on their resume. They beat Penn State, who I don't think is any good. And but they're ranked very highly, and they beat Notre Dame, who we know is okay.
Agreed.
The problem with the cheating stuff, guys, with Michigan is we don't know what's going to be proven. I don't think any of the stuff with Michigan is going to be assessed this year. It'll be for next year's team. The sad part of all of this, depending on how deeply involved they were, is that I get a sense that Harbaugh will be off to the NFL, and the people left behind will be the ones who are getting punished.
That's why you got to do it this year. If you're going to do it at all, it's got to be this year.
But I don't think they're going to be able to do it this year, Tom. We're going into. I mean, they're about to play their 9th game. I don't think. Yeah, but this requires a real investigation, and I think, in fairness to any team, including if it were to be us, you really need to know what the hell you're talking about what happened before you decide to assess a penalty. I don't think you can willy-nilly say, well, we think there might have been some shenanigans. We're not sure exactly what. We're addressing it. But because we think there's some stuff here, we're going to go ahead and suspend you from postseason. I don't think you can do that.
No, chances are, though, if it is this rampant and coaches are blowing the whistle on each other, it's got to be pretty verifiable. Like when you have Jim McElwain talking openly about the fact that Stallions got on his sideline, which is crazy. I mean, and if Mike Norvell, okay, so here's the thing. Mike Norvell's not going to say anything off the cuff if he doesn't feel like he's got the information. And he said it was unethical what they were doing at Michigan. He said that last week after practice. I don't think he would have commented on it. I think
he said if they're guilty, and that's smart of him to say.
That's fine. He's protecting himself in that regard, but you know that he wouldn't have even approached the word unethical if he didn't feel strongly about what he was hearing behind the scenes or what the coaching community was talking about.
Let me tell you what I think this is, and I think this is a good comp. I know for a fact that all coaching staffs in college football advance scout, and they do probably more than they're allowed to do in advanced scouting. It is very common, everybody. This happens all the time. And most every coach in the game has a somewhat, if you want to argue it this way, elaborate way in which they advance scout. Everybody knows they're being watched. There's nothing new under the sun. And it really is an act of paranoia in many cases, because you are what the film says you are.
Yep.
I can tell you what the hell you are without ever having to scout you 7 weeks out. But anyhow, every coach does this. We do it. I'm sure of it. Everybody does it, okay? But here's where you get into these situations where somebody crosses the line, and our analogy that we always use on the show is everybody's speeding on the highway. But there's a difference between going 80 in a 70 and going 120. When you go 120, you're putting other people in danger. You are a threat. You are a menace on the roadways. And that's when every other speeder on said highway picks up the phone and says, look, man, hey, I'll be honest, I'm going 82, and this guy just passed me like I was standing still. Okay, so they tell on themselves along the way that they're speeding because this is now a danger. The Astros, everybody steals signs. Everybody in baseball steals signs. It's as old as time. Mm-hmm. But when they had an elaborate system by which things were signaled in and a trash can was beaten and everything else, they had crossed that line, that imaginary line, that line where within the game it is understood that everybody's doing it, but they're not doing that. They're not doing it to that extent. And how do we know that they crossed that line? Well, here's how we know. Their players were routinely pegged in spring training by every team they faced the next year. I mean, it happened left and right. Remember, there were brawls. Yep. They kept getting thrown at every successive day with a different team and a different pitcher. People that weren't even affected in some cases were throwing at them. That means that universally the league was calling BS on the Astros. They're like, hey, man, we get it. There's a way to do this, but the way you were doing it crossed every known line that we all agree upon, the unwritten rules that people don't like to talk about. These are the unwritten rules. So my guess is here that Michigan has crossed that imaginary or maybe even, very vivid line and gotten to a place where now coaches are feeling very comfortable taking shots, saying, well, if you got a guy flying all around the country standing on the sidelines of games and report, we got a problem.
Yeah.
We got a problem.
And wearing other universities' polos to blend in. I mean, Jesus. Like Yahoo Sports 6 days ago reported that TCU got phone calls left and right when they were the 4th team in the playoff and they were matching up with Michigan. And all of the phone calls from the other coaches, brethren in the industry, said, you got to change up your signs. They know them. They know your signs because they're cheating. Like, dude, that is the proverbial throwing of the baseball at a batter. That is, the code has been violated amongst the thieves. And so, therefore, we're going to have to oust this guy because he's going to maybe we've got a deal. If there's a pirate back in the day, he's got a deal with local port enforcement and the officials.
Right.
You're going to screw this all up because you're getting greedy. Listen here, Blackbeard, you're going down, brother. And that's what's happening now, I think.
Yeah, it may be. I will still tell you they're not going to do the Big Ten certainly isn't going to do anything. And the NCAA, not now. They'll wait till after the year after they get their money. And the NCAA moves at the speed of molasses. So, and R. Wilmer, I hear you, buddy. Yeah, I get it. You don't penalize anyone without a speedy trial in America, right? Keyword speedy. The NCAA is not a court. And they take their dogged time trying to enforce their rules. And many of them, they're kind of incapable of enforcing. So it's a mess.
All right. Your score prediction. Let's go.
Sorry.
Blind test here. Your score prediction.
And then we have a lot of questions to get to. I want you to rapid fire some of them. We've had a bunch of good ones that I have spoken right over the top of. Okay, you ready?
Yep.
I'm going to look down so you all see the kick-ass Bucks hat. And I will say what I picked was 38-14.
Okay. Wow. 41-7 is what I said.
Okay.
And the two panelists I was on with did not call for a 40 burger. I'm the only one so far who's called for the 40 burger.
It can happen. It can happen. I mean, look, this is a very similar score prediction for me every week right now. And what I mean is Florida State's an automatic play to the over for me most weeks. I know Florida State is going to score in the 30s every game. So I know that when I go for Florida State's number, bare minimum, I'm saying 31. Yep. And unless the other team's defense is just pure ass, I kind of stay away from 50 and big numbers because Mike doesn't play at breakneck speed. We play at a pretty slow pace these days. So we're only going to run scrimmage plays wise 65 plays, and so if that's going to be the case, I think it's just awfully hard to get into the high 40s. It can happen. I also suspect, and I am not in any way nervous about this game, but I do suspect, and Pitt, who obviously beat down Louisville and has shown some capabilities occasionally to play hard and physical, will maybe show up. Now, the reason I say that is you saw the Narduzzi press conference this week and the mea culpa and the I'm sorry. I don't know what way to read that. I don't know. Have they found some common ground and they're going to go play hard for him on Saturday because he apologized and said how bad he felt and how he couldn't sleep and he hated it. It was taken the wrong way. Or if they've already quit, which was evidence of the 58-7 score against Notre Dame, if they've already quit to go along with poor quarterback play and they're just going through the motions. Because if they're just going through the motions, you're going to get your 40-something points, Tom, and we're going to see a big number. I don't know.
They could rally. They could initially rally, and then if you put them down, they're done.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, like, let's say that they don't even give a damn about Narduzzi and they don't believe he's genuine, which if you really watch that press conference, it rings pretty hollow. I don't know that he's being genuine in that.
But he doesn't grovel, Tom. So he's not going to grovel. He's just going to say it like an old school man. He's going to be like, listen, I'm sorry about that. I really am sorry about that. And it's going to feel a little hollow because he's just not going to grovel.
Well, what he told the media was that, the way it came out is not how I meant it. And so one of the media members asked him, well, how did you mean it? And he goes, well, I mean, listen, that's over with now. I'd rather not talk about that now.
Well, and that's an easy out because he doesn't want to get bogged down in what he said, but it's also a dumb of him to say these guys need PR agents in the worst way. We could be making gobs of money. And you cannot say to somebody that didn't come out the way that I intended it.
And he also
that's
said
exactly how you intended it.
And he also said that's, sometimes you don't get the whole picture in the world we live in of what was meant.
Oh, blame the world. Okay.
Yep.
Blame the world, everybody. You stood at a dais and said it.
Yeah, that's why.
Anyhow, Z-Chan asked the question, if this year was a 12-team playoff, which team outside the top four would you be the most concerned about? Oregon.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. That is Mike's question is a little different. Who would you be most afraid of overtaking us in the polls? Still Oregon? Or would that be Alabama because of the SEC tie?
I'm going to assume that we went out in the regular season, and in that case, there's only one team that has a chance to overtake us, and that's Washington, unless they lose.
Mm-hmm. So undefeated, but has close games for the remainder of the schedule. Does Florida State still make the playoffs?
Depends on what Washington does.
Okay. So you
I
think
mean, if Washington goes undefeated, guys, the Pac-12, quite frankly, this year is a better conference than the ACC. It is. And if they go undefeated, they could very well overtake us, yes.
the problem is, though, that you would be arguing against Michigan, Ohio State loser at that point, overtaking us and not being a non-participant in the
Well, if
championship
we
game.
go undefeated, you're right. That is correct. Washington could crack that top 4, and we may stay in it because the loser of that Michigan-Ohio State game, if you got 2 other undefeateds of Power 5 conferences, sorry, tough luck, tough year to lose that game, guys. You can get the hell up out of here.
Carol asks, so is Jordan Travis a Heisman candidate now? I hope so. He needs to at least be a finalist in New York.
I think the second part of what you had to say, Carol, is accurate. I think he has a shot to be a finalist in New York. No, I don't think he's candidate. That term can apply loosely. Do you think he's?
I think, candidate by definition is in New York. So I think he's in that race.
Well, he's in the race. He's not there yet. People forget, man. And listen, Jordan Travis is really good, and he's turning it on right now. And if he continues to play this way, he'll be in New York. But I think sometimes we get bogged down with these things and think that we have the only really good quarterback. Man, look around the country. There are some really good. Bo Nix is a really good quarterback who's putting up huge numbers. I mean, you can go through and look at a ton of these guys and be like, well, it's tough.
Yeah, I'm here for the Bo Nix argument or the Michael Penix argument. Even though Penix is undefeated, he played a game in which the offense did not score a touchdown. So
that is true. That is true, and that's going to hurt him. Now now, admittedly, the numbers prior to that game were astronomical.
It's Arizona
State.
State.
Really good, and he was hurt in that game. He played, but he was hurt. Now
Jordan was hurt on the road at Clemson.
Jordan always hurt. Yeah. Listen, I'm here for Jordan Travis to be in New York City. And I hope he goes, and hell, I hope he wins the Heisman. I just don't think it's likely at this point.
Chris wants to know when the hell we're getting a Bellying Up podcast.
Well, Chris, that's on Tom. So I'm going to tell you right now, it's happening soon. It's going to happen soon. I got to force us both to sit down. We do a lot of stuff, and I love doing all the stuff that we do, but sometimes things get lost in the shuffle. And truly, with Bellying Up, it's a secondary podcast that isn't actually associated with Warchant in any way. It's also not associated with the radio station that we work for or that we do the show on. So it has to be third place. It has to be the last thing we do because the other people pay us for that other stuff. Nobody's paying us for Bellying Up. And now, if somebody wants to be a huge sponsor for Bellying Up, they may take some precedent over some of these other things. But right now, Bellying Up has to be kind of on the back burner to when we can get to it. We have been remiss.
But when we recorded, the Battle's End does sponsor it at this time. Now, if you want to take on title sponsorship, folks out there, you go knock yourselves out.
Well, the Battle's End really endorses everything that we do. And how could they not? We are champions of the Battle's End. We believe in the Battle's End. And, I mean, quite frankly, the Jeff Cameron Show is the longest running, most popular show covering Florida State in the history of sports. So, I mean, what the hell are you going to do? You got to be associated with it.
Yeah. I mean, shoot, we sent you Z-Chan Battle's End. You know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of power that we have here. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Lee Fields, bringing it back. 2 questions. The second one's familiar. Any chance our guys are looking ahead to the Miami game? Also, who breaks the rock on Saturday?
There's always a chance when you're 21-plus point favorites that a team doesn't have your undivided attention, I suppose. I always kind of feel like, look ahead games are real. You know, that's why you see some of the lines shift the way that they do, and gambling, you know, the wise guys in Vegas take note of these games that are sandwiched between 2 big games, right? So if you're watching a team, any team, and then next week they have their best rival, and this week they're playing a team that is forlorn and average at best, but capable on the right day of hanging with you. That's why that number a lot of times is not what it's supposed to be, because that's a very real thing. But I also think, simultaneous to saying that that's a real thing, it's a little overblown sometimes, because I don't know about you guys, but when I played football, it's such a violent game. It's not unlike if you've ever boxed. If you box somebody, they better have your undivided attention. because assuming they have any skill at all, if you're not careful, you can get got, as they say. And if your hands are down and you're being lazy, you can get knocked out by a fighter who's, 12-12.
Mhm.
So everybody kind of has your attention in violent sports because of the ramifications for not having their attention. So, I may be bigger, stronger, faster than somebody, but if I'm screwing around, I can get hurt. And I think to some degree that's true of any football game that's played.
All right, breaking the rock. I'll say Rodney Hill. Ooh, there you go.
Man, that's out of left field, huh?
Notice that Rodney has broken off some big time plays each of the last couple of games. I get it's fourth quarter against Duke, but he had a couple of big plays early in the game against Wake. I think that helps Trey Benson summon his best. Competition, man. Rodney gets a couple of chances, and it's an explosive play or a 10-yard gain. Makes everybody better.
Okay.
David, who was the worst OC, Kirk Ferentz's son or Bobby's?
Kirk Ferentz's son, and it's not close. And Bobby's son sucked, but that is unreal what Kirk Ferentz's son has done at Iowa. It was hilarious at the beginning of the week. If you saw the memes of Coach Ferentz hugging his son, and it had the first ever total at 29. It was the first ever initial total released from Vegas that was below 30. And the meme was them hugging, and it said, "We did it." It was fantastic. It's since gone to 31, I think. So I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's outstanding. Melissa wants to know, with a 12-team playoff, how much will we be talking about or talking like this about the handful of two-loss teams who all want in those wild card spots?
Only if we're one of them.
Yeah.
Most of us are going to have that devil may care attitude, because if we're a one-loss or a no-loss team, you peasants argue amongst yourselves over there about who's number 12.
Well,
you know what I mean? That's how we'll appreciate. But now I will tell you, big picture wise, we might have a very candid and spirited debate about which two-loss team should be 12 if there's like 9 of them.
Yeah, the national media cries on camera on Selection Sunday for the 70th team in the country or the 69th team in the country that did not make the tournament. So that is always going to happen. Always. It's good TV. For us, though, even if we're a two-loss team next year, and that's a great sound, I would imagine that, at that point, the talking point is, well, just get to Charlotte, get to your conference championship game and win it. Then you take care of business. If you're lesser than, just get to your conference title game, because that's an auto bid, so that makes life easier. Yeah. Troy's feeling like everybody's picking on the Noles. The national media talking heads always hate on us. Why?
I just don't agree, Troy. You are a great fan and a diehard, and I think that clouds all of our vision to some extent. There are people in the national media who don't like Florida State. I think it's more – I think the more pointed and direct way of saying it is they don't like Florida State fans. We are really vocal on social media platforms. Florida State fans are amongst the most vocal on social media platforms. So I think some of these media guys that have been on, or gals that have been on the wrong end of that vociferous defense from Florida State fans on social media hold grudges. I think they can't just chalk it up to fandom.
We are an excellent internet fan base when you're talking about engagement. But
we will engage, man. We will engage at the slightest hint of a diss.
We could get way better, though, in terms of heading to a place like thebattlesend.com or a Florida State supporting wing of the athletics enterprise. We talk more than we actually do something about.
It's changing, though. I will tell you guys, I want to say thank you to everybody who joined the Battle's End last week. The Battle's End reported back to me that after my interview with Ingram, amongst other talking points on the Jeff Cameron Show, that they did see a real uptick in membership growth.
Good.
And I want to thank you guys who did that. Listen, I'm a Nole. Tom's a Nole. We care about Florida State's football and their success across the board. But
athletics,
in this case, we're talking about football.
Okay? Beach. Look at that.
Yeah, he cares about beach volleyball. I don't. Now, that said, although I'll watch it, that said, I just think that in this modern era of football, You have to understand that this is a body that is investing, for lack of a better term. I'm sure Florida State would push back on that. And I would, if this were an interview with Ingram, they would tell me you can't say that or whatever, because they're very touchy about all this nonsense.
They are. And yet, you know what? You could roll out some more ads on the big screen during the games if you want to be that touchy. That's me talking, though.
Yeah. But the point is, we all know that it has a direct impact eventually on what you can do in that space in the way of competing for superstar players that make up your team. I'm not saying you recruit them that way. I'm saying they need to know that you're as competitive, if not more so, than anybody in the country. If they make a decision to come to Florida State, they're going to have opportunities based on their play and the things that they accomplished. And so anything we are able to do and help out with, I think, it's more than greatly appreciated. I know that. I hear that from the people at the Battle's End. But it's also, there's direct proof here, guys. I mean, Jordan Travis and Jared Verse, amongst others, are back for the reason that we were able to provide opportunities.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed. Let's see. Doomsday scenarios. If Alabama wins the SEC with one loss, does Georgia get the boot over an undefeated FSU?
If Alabama wins the SEC with one loss, does Georgia get the boot over an undefeated FSU? They should. It's hard to argue otherwise. It just is.
Yeah, they get the boot. They do.
I think they should. He's asking our opinion. Will the committee do it? I don't know.
Florida State's in.
I think Florida State's in.
Jeff, knowing you're a legend at the gentlemen's clubs in Tampa, any good recommendations for Pittsburgh?
No, and I'll tell you guys something that may surprise you. And certainly, I'm a man of a certain age, which means I'm not always hip to the way things are working today. But I'm not a gentleman's club guy. I've never been a gentleman's club guy. It's not my cup of tea. Yep. I love the ladies. I make sexist comments on the air all the time.
Yeah.
I say inappropriate things that make Tom kind of recoil occasionally. So I am very honest and straightforward about all things that we debate and talk about, including my own sexism in a weird way. But I will tell you, I've never liked going to strip clubs. Never. It's not my thing. Yep. I think I'll tell you what it is. It's skeevy, man. I don't like being around other dudes staring at chicks. It makes me nervous. I don't like it.
I've been to like 2 or 3, and it's bachelor parties. I've never been on my own accord. Said, I'm going to get in the car and go to the strip club. I've
been to 2. They were both bachelor parties, and one of them was like freaking 30 years ago.
Yep. Joining late, says Zyler. What the hell, man? Should Keon Coleman be in the Heisman conversation?
No.
Should be in the first round of the conversation, though, that's for sure.
He will be in the first round, yeah.
Z-Chan wants to know what it would take to bring back the Bellying Up podcast.
Well, it's not going. It still exists. Just it just kind of floats around until somebody picks it up.
We'll have one for Miami week at minimum. You know, we got to have one for leading up to Miami.
Oh, without question.
All right. I love this question. Down 5 against Florida. Don't love that part. 3 seconds left. Also don't love that part. 4th and goal at the 2. What's the play call?
Something that gets Jordan outside the tackle box and gives him a run pass option.
I hate the sprint out, though. It just shrinks everything about what
I'm not doing a sprint out. I may end up doing the fake. You know, we may do some read option stuff. He runs the read option very well down in condensed space.
Yep. Yeah, you might have seen it. I mean, it was the 4th down play against Clemson where it's a read option, and then there's Jaheim Bell who can either lead block or catch, and Jordan can run. And Jordan ended up running for the first down. We also called that on our own 36 at a 4th and 1 against Duke. And the play was actually given to Trey, and that's how it got stuffed. Yeah. But Jordan might still be running if he kept the ball in that situation.
I would do that same thing and tell him under no circumstances do you hand this ball to Trey. You are keeping and you are walking in the end zone.
Kayvon wants to know what kind of shrine that is in the background. Who are you worshiping?
Okay, mostly me. First of all, this is Waterford Crystal that I got in Ireland in Waterford just this last time. It's a football, and we carved it there. That is a football signed by Mike Norvell to me from the spring game. And it says, Jeff, thank you for everything that you do, Mike Norvell. And at the top, it says honorary guest coach. This is a national championship from the first season, the first national championship, 1993, signed by Bobby Bowden.
Yeah, that was before he knew what you were going to do in the 2000s.
This is before he thought I was a traitor.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, then over here is a Buccaneers Super Bowl championship ball signed by the entire team.
That's 02. Yeah, that looks like the old.
Yeah, it's the old one.
Yep.
And let's see, I got a classic microphone here. This is the Walker Cup from the 18th green at Royal Liverpool, given to me, which is amazing to think about this. Let's see, it says, Jeff, really enjoyed being on your I don't know. What's this thing? Oh, thanks for all the support. Really enjoyed being on your show. And so that is really, really cool. And then there's a bunch of funny stuff. There's a picture of my wife and I in Ireland from 20 years ago. And then there's a picture. There's a funny, goofy. So do you see this American flag eagle? This ridiculous thing here? So this is an eagle painted as an American flag. It's just ridiculous. It's over the top. And it says, to the best dad ever. So Clark made that for me. He painted it when he was really little. And I thought it was absurd, but that he took an American eagle and painted it, and it just made me laugh. So
somebody asking if you've got an agave plant back there.
No.
Is that the artwork on the right side? Probably your left shoulder. Yeah.
That there? Yes, yeah. That is. Oh, that's like that's a pineapple.
Oh, nice. All right.
That's been peeled like that. Over there.
Who's the basketball player? I always think that's a Michael Jordan picture, but I know it's not.
It's Dr. J. By the way, the most interesting thing, you see these guys here? Can you see that? Are you looking, Tom?
Yes, we can see that. Yeah.
So that's William Floyd and Tommy Carter and me, and that is at William Floyd's wedding.
I thought that was Brian Williams, NBC.
No, so William is wearing a purple suit in this picture, and I told him right before this picture was taken that only black people can wear purple well. And he cracked up. It's true. White people cannot pull off purple.
What about Angus, the chunky kid in that Teen Angst movie? No, Angus didn't pull it off?
I don't think so. Not like so. Anyhow, William wore a purple suit. This is when he was on the 49ers, and he's wearing his Super Bowl ring there, and he's getting married. And I'm in this, and that's me right there, and that's Tommy Carter, who played for 9 years in the NFL with the Bears and Washington and Cincinnati, and he was our starting quarterback. So this was kind of an LHS reunion of all-time great players, of course. So that's what that is. There it is.
Very nice. All right, the agave plant it is. Keith B. Also, how high could Louisville climb if they went out and make it to the conference championship game? They're 13 now, maybe 8 or 9. That'd be a nice win for the.
I didn't answer your question, Dr. J.
No, you said that. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Louisville could get to 8 or 9 because a lot of these top 12 teams are playing each other. That is, I think, the biggest favor that was done for Florida State. Not that it was for our purposes, but that Louisville is 13 ahead of LSU. Strange. Even with 2 losses versus 1, that's a lot higher than I thought Louisville was going to be. So if they do win out, they will be in the top 10, and that does make the ACC championship look a little bit better.
It's the best thing we can hope for is that they win out and we do get that game against a top 10 team in case you do have to, once again, stamp your bona fides. I agree. I'll just tell you, I don't think I just don't think that game is going to do much for us because I'm actually worried Louisville is not going to win out. So I would go that route.
Yep. Robert D., do you see our offensive line being better, worse, or the same next year?
Well, I think they're going to keep a few of these guys. So I'm going to say better.
Okay. Related question from Lee. Backup question. If the O-line comes back next year, does it still need a portal injection?
Yes.
I think one play. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, it does.
Mike B., is this program realistically set up for keeping us relevant in the national conversation for years to come? I'm going to jump in on that one. Yes, 12-team playoff increases who's nationally relevant. We should, even in a down year, be in that conversation in the top 12. But you should be able to climb higher than that. Don't get me wrong.
I think the program is set up for success because Mike is a hard worker who I think he's valued the right things, and he's been able to get real buy-in from not only the recruits that he's brought in, but obviously the portal people as well. And you have a group like Battles In that is helping in a real instrumental way. And so you have a lot of cohesiveness from the top down. I think he's going to continue to add to what he's doing. I don't believe when Florida State is at its max efficiency, and it's not yet, this staff will be slightly different, in my opinion. So I think he's going to continue to add, and opportunities will present themselves. You got to remember, when you're winning a lot of games, people come after your assistants, and sometimes that's frustrating, especially if you lose a guy like Alex Atkins, let's say. I'm not saying they will, but it really is. He's probably next up on that list of people that somebody comes after and really tries to make an offer that he can't refuse. But I will tell you that there's some other guys that will get offers as well. And in those cases, you'll be like, okay, best of luck to you. And you'll be able to upgrade your staff.
All right, David, thank you very much for the contribution. He says, keep up the great work. We shall. Who do you think FSU matches up with best if the Noles were to land in the Sugar Bowl playoff game? What's the worst case opponent if we end up in L.A.?
Well, if Georgia ends up number one in the country and we're number 4, is that how we get it to LA? Is that what that?
I mean, it's always about the geography of the higher seed. So the number 1 seed will get a game closest to where they operate.
Is that how they do it, though? That's real?
Yes, that's 100% correct. That's why we played Oregon as number 3, and it was Alabama, Ohio State in the Sugar Bowl back in 2014. So it's always about they do. Okay. It's just like the NCAA tournament. The higher the seed you are, the closer to home you will play.
Well, I don't care if we play in the Sugar Bowl or Los Angeles. The Rose Bowl is unbelievable, and I actually prefer that myself. I know that's not convenient for everybody else, but I would love to go to that again. And I like Los Angeles. I like that area, and I don't know, maybe I'm in the minority there, but the bottom line is I'd be happy to go out to California. I've been to the Sugar Bowl 700 times. I don't need to go again, but the matchup is really what I'm more concerned about, and not the location. The matchup, I don't think we can block Georgia, and I don't think we can block Michigan. And I think we would struggle to block Ohio State, but we could overcome it because I don't think Ohio State would move the ball on us.
Yep. Best matchup is Ohio State. Worst matchup is Georgia, I think, because at that point, Bauer should be healthy, which makes things more difficult.
And also, even if he's not, Tom, they've got people need to realize they're the lone team that could lock up our receivers. Have you seen the way they cover? They have arguably the best safety in the country. They cover, folks. I mean, I don't know, man.
But we do have a lot of weapons. It's not just a receiver or two.
Hey, look, you could beat Georgia. I'm not saying you couldn't. It's just not ideal.
Troy Noel wants to know, is Crawfordville or Bradfordville a better place to live?
Oh, Jesus. Well, Troy, I do not want to besmirch the fine people of Crawfordville and Bradfordville, so we'll tackle that off air.
How about Bradfordville Road? There you go. Just live off of that's right by Jeff. You're right near Georgia.
You're not too far away from it. Yeah.
Matt wants to know if Jeremiah Byer should be included in the Heisman conversation. Thank you.
That's just you being funny, Matt.
Yeah. Kayvon up 21 against Miami. 4th quarter, 35 on the game clock. New play clock. What are you calling?
Oh, I'm throwing it into the end zone. I'm scoring on Miami again.
That's right.
I'm running whatever cool trick play I have that they've never seen that guarantees somebody's wide ass open so that I can celebrate and give them the suck it symbol after we score again.
Yeah, 21's not enough.
No.
Yeah. Let's see. Britt Jones, UM or Florida, which is more concerning? Does Van Dyke's recent run of throwing picks left and right bring Miami down a peg or two for you?
So I think Miami's defensive line is capable of winning the line of scrimmage against us. I think their offensive line is very good. They're lacking at wide receiver. They're lacking at corner. They're lacking at quarterback. I think Florida State wins the game. But I never want to play somebody, or if I'm given a choice, I don't love to play people that can win the line of scrimmage. So I've got to say Miami because I don't think Florida will win the line of scrimmage against us.
Okay. Garrett, what do you think the quarterback depth chart will be for the third game next season? All right, so there's a lot of questions like that. Scott says, do you think AJ Duffy will transfer?
Yes.
King says, do you believe FSU will need to bring in a quarterback from the portal this year?
No.
Okay, so if Duffy transfers and we don't need a portal quarterback, I'll ask, do you think that Tate Rodemaker is still here next fall?
Kind of do. He's actually played pretty well when he's been given an opportunity when he's gone into games.
So it could be Tate, Brock, Cromenhawk?
It could be Tate, Brock, Cromenhawk. That, by the way, that's just fun to say.
It is.
I think Brock Glenn's ceiling is the highest between he and Tate. Just a matter of whether or not he could win the job from him. Tate's been here for 25 years. I mean, he's surely got a handle on the system.
Yep. Okay, let's see. It's funny. People ask similar questions at the same time, so we'll go to this one from the dad guy. If Norvell wins a national title, do you think we can try and lock him here long term? And then Nole fan 1893 says, if CMN keeps having success, does he stay at Florida State or could another program pull him, go after him?
Well, I think another program would make a run at him. This is where coaches gain huge amounts of leverage. You know, we all know about Jimmy Sexton, super agent, and we all know that he represents basically all of the pertinent coaches in college football and uses that advantage that he has as a representative of all the coaches that are desired to leverage against schools, against one another in order to get his client the most amount of money. I would suspect that if he is in the running for coach of the year and he wins a national title, that there are some SEC teams, if a job comes open, that may make a run at him. I think any team that really values the way that he's come in here and turned things around pretty quickly would make a run at him. I think Florida State would offer a ton of money to Mike Norvell to stay, but I think it would be a little bit less about the money Florida State could pay him, because they could pay him what anybody else could pay him. Like if they needed to pay Mike Norvell $11 million, they could. But it would be more about what Mike would be demanding. Would Mike ask for that kind of money plus this, and this in the way of facilities and extra and staff and all of that? That might be where you could end up losing somebody. And we've talked about this as it relates to being in this suck-ass conference. And I think that is the biggest problem, that ultimately you have a hard time competing when it gets more drawn out. Not when it's a singular, hey, this guy needs this amount of money. Florida State can do that. They are very competitive. Look at our coaches' salaries compared to other programs and their coaches' salaries. Florida State is up there amongst the best. But if the demands become so immersive to where there are, I want this money, I need this kind of facility, I need this other thing here, then it gets more difficult when you're competing against the Texas A&Ms and Alabamas of the world, schools in the SEC and the Big Ten, which are taking home a lot more money. It becomes pretty prohibitive.
HPR Shredder wants to know, will Clemson have a 4-8 moment if things don't change within the next 3 years?
It's entirely possible. I mean, if you quit on your coach, if you have a poisoned locker room, if the culture is ruined, we've seen what can happen. Jimbo was sub 500 when he left here. He was 5-6. He didn't get to coach his last game. Jimbo's last year here, he was one game under 500. I mean, sweet Jesus, that's how short it was from the penthouse to the outhouse.
They're staring 6-6 in the face right now, as it is, which is, I mean, inconceivable. So it's possible, I think. Hogwatcher, I can answer this one. He wants to know, is Gene stuffing away money for the entire Warchant team to travel to Cali and host a location for a Warchant party? No, he is not. There would be savings for Houston at that point for the title game. I think there would be a larger soiree in New Orleans if we go to New Orleans. But I don't think we've got like a dozen people. I don't know that we're sending a dozen people out to Cali. We will all be at in Dublin.
All will be in Charlotte, though.
Yeah, and in Dublin as well. Yep. So, let's see. Does Trey Benson enter the draft? I mean, that's got to be like 90 some odd %. Yeah.
It's got to be 100%, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. All right. Sydney wants to know offensive and defensive MVPs. Who are the MVPs so far?
Jordan, Travis, and Jared Verse.
Yeah, I guess. Defense is a little harder. I'll go Renardo Green on defense.
Well, I can go Farmer if you're going to do that. So
Yeah.
we've got some candidates there.
I think Jordan's the right answer. Keon's close. Keon is pretty close. He's got, is it 9 touchdowns he's got? I mean, good Lord.
Keon's a beast, man. I love him. Yeah, but it has to be Jordan, right?
I think it has to be, yeah. And he's only getting better. Jordan's only getting better. Britt wants to know the most important question. If the Miami game is a 7:30 game, well, if that's the case, that would be a 4:30 pregame show. Would we roam the tailgate lots before heading over to Hotel Indigo? Would we actually be out and about?
Well, we'll be doing the pregame show
before. So, like, are you going to go out there at noon?
No.
No? Yeah.
Because I want to have a good time, and I can't before we go to the pregame show. I've got to have my senses about me, guys.
Yeah, I think it could be pulled off. If there was only a pregame show to do, you could survive the pregame show. But for me, I got a postgame show too. There's no way. We're gonna go rapid fire here. I see.
Yeah, we got 3 minutes because I'm going to get pizza.
Nice. Where are you going to get the pizza from?
I don't know. I got to text the boys, and the only reason I'm getting pizza is because they're out. He had football practice. My wife is with our other son, and he had some event. And then I just got a text while we were doing this. Hey, when you're done doing the show, can you just get pizza? I don't feel like cooking tonight. It's almost 8:00 at night. So, of course, I'm going to oblige.
Okay, here we go. We're rolling through. Robert D. Thank you, Robert D. Pardon the randomness. Been meaning to thank you for your guardian ad litem support. I'm a guardian ad litem. He's a guardian, and they need as much recognition as they can get. Well,
I talked to Deborah Moore today from the guardian ad litem, and they're coming in this week to record a spot for a PSA. They're really doing a big initiative right now to get more people lined up, and we've got good plans coming up. We're going to announce soon the bowling tournament, and I'm really excited. I love working with the folks at the guardian ad litem. And Robert, thanks for being a gal.
Thank you, Robert. You didn't have to send monetary support for that, but we appreciate that. Will Miami be ranked next week when we play them?
Who do they have this week?
NC State on the road.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think the Saints will finally let Winston free? Minnesota should have gotten him instead of Josh Dobbs.
Yeah, I think Minnesota should have gotten him instead of Josh Dobbs. I want Jameis to go to a place where they commit to him and he has an opportunity to play and not worry about a bad throw or a bad situation, like freed up to really compete for the job. He's not in a position to do that now, so I wish the best for him. But we're running out of time here, man. He's just been sitting the bench for a couple of years now.
I know, and that would have been a great low-leverage situation to prove himself. What's been more fun to cover, this year or the 2013 team?
2013, probably. They were so overwhelming, guys. I mean, that 2013 team put the fear of God in our opponents. They were so good. I mean, they had 22 NFL players.
13 had higher moments to cover. This has been
what we did to Clemson, guys. Tom and I were on the field for that game. To be on the field for that game, and then to go out to the Rose Bowl to see that setting with the San Gabriel, and to be down on the field pregame.
Yeah.
Tom, it's 2013.
That had the better moments. I'm just talking about the team has been more fun. Like, this team, I think, has been more compelling because the rise is quick. Like, you had 2010, which was much like what we had last year. It's just this is with the NIL. It's on speed dial how quick the rise has been. So I think this team has been compelling because a lot of the guys that were on 2010 that helped flip the thing didn't make it to 2013 for the championship. These are the same dudes. I think that makes it compelling. But the higher moments were high for 13. What will be the fate of Jimbo after this season, Chris Wall? What do you think? Fired?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Kayvon, did you guys pass out candy or black out the house last night? I passed out candy after the playoff show. I really was only there for about 25 good minutes.
I had to do the playoff show, and I did it from the studio, and both my kids are too old to be hanging in the neighborhood, so they were with their friends in different neighborhoods, and my wife was there. The Camerons weren't even home.
What's your go-to pizza topping?
Sausage.
Such a great answer. Does Cam Davis get relevant playing time next year?
I hope so, man. I love that kid. He hasn't even played it down for us. He's a freak. Let's go.
Hardest position that needs hitting in the portal.
We need to hit the hell out of the portal for linebackers.
Okay. I agree. Who's more likely to be here next year, Odell or Atkins?
Atkins.
I think the answer is yes. Scott asks, last question. Fentrell, NFL bound? I think he's got another year, but I think he's NFL bound. What do you think?
Yeah, he's been a bit underwhelming.
He is. I think he is what he is. I don't think you come back and magically get better. So
yeah,
there it is.
Yeah, it's a little frustrating. All right, that's it. That's all. I've enjoyed this. I do like this. I'm glad we do this on Wednesdays, and I'm glad you guys are able to join us.
Me too. Their questions were brought tonight. Way to go, chat. You guys did great.
Yeah, you guys did do great. I really appreciate it. And I like listening. I like watching you guys talk to each other in the chat too. It makes me laugh. I mean, I don't mean that in a condescending way. I just think it's funny. Like somebody will pick up on, yeah, I wish Jameis had gone to the Vikings. Yeah, we should have gotten so-and-so. Well, the Browns need Jameis. And it just makes me laugh. It's good.
It's $1 for 2 months. $1 for 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
Do it. It's code FSU1 if you're not a member of the site. For crying out loud. That gets you through signing. That gets you to the day of the playoff. 2 months. Sign up. It's $1. Warchant.com.
I'm off to get pizza. Wish me luck.